Now, I was born in Gatundu district, division of Kiambu district. My father was Kahengeri wa Gitu, and my mother was Wanjiru wa Kahengeri. When I was born, I was brought up just like any other children in the villages. But when I grew to the level of understanding something or seeing something and realizing, I found that we were under a British colonial rule. Everything that was being done in the villages was by the authority from the colonial administration. Fortunately, my father was in the group of those old people, young people at that time, who were agitating of freedom and the return of their grabbed land. Many meetings were held at my father's home, and I was running errands for those old people who were coming to the house. And finally, they realized here is a young person who can possibly understand what we are doing with the organization of the agitation. They welcomed me, therefore I became one. At that time, very young age, I became one of the old people who were talking. I did not understand completely what they were doing, but later on I understood that this is what the old people were doing when we were meeting in my father's home. And therefore, I went to an independent school called Kiamwangi Independent School. Because in that struggle of agitation for freedom, people who were in the missionary schools, which was being led by missionaries from Europe, disagreed with the local people because of the teaching, because of the propaganda of the British administration. They disagreed and they decided to form their own school organizations. And therefore the Kikuyu, the Kenya African Schools Association was formed, and they started building their own schools. Equally, they started building their own houses of worship. Therefore, we had independent schools and we had independent churches from ACK, from Anglican Presbyterian Church. It was called by then GMS. But these people who did not agree with the colonialists moved their people, their adherents, to the independent schools and to the independent churches.
You are aware of this. And Eliud Madu was nominated to go to the Ledge Corps.
Yes.
You remember that? What was the reaction?
What happened, it was in 1945.
So it was a appointed in 1944.
1939, sorry.
Oh, the war, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is when the war it was started. Many of this country, many people, young people of this country went to that war. But they did not go willingly. They were taken in Missouri, they were taken in Ceylon, they were taken in Burma, all over Middle and Far East. They were taken there. So, when Madhu was put into Legislative Council, we thought he will be given a chance to speak for us. But he was put there just to be there, just to be there.
Decoration.
Yes, just to be there. Therefore, we did not stop what we were doing about agitation. We continued in agitating our freedom and return of our grabbed land. The old people that we had that time were carrying briefcases. If you wanted to see what contains in the briefcase of an old man of those days, a lot of papers, memorandum that have been sent to the colonial office without answers. They were not answered. Therefore, the young people who went to independent schools and those who had, of course, gained a little knowledge, like ourselves, because we went to a government school in Kagumo, and therefore we knew something a little more than anybody in the village. We decided, because these memorandum have never been answered, and we have come to know that our country is occupied by a foreigner, we must recover our freedom and land.
Now, who are some of these old men, they were usually men, who were carrying this, who are making these decisions, in which you are an errand boy for them?
Yeah.
There are some names you can say, so and so.
Yes, I can say, yes. Why can't I say? I know.
Who are these leaders?
I know. Let's say in places like Moranga, we had a person called Kegondu. We had also in Nyere, we had also a person called Wambugu in Odaya. We had James Buta in Maragua. We had Wagasha Wageduku in Kabete. We had Kahengeri Wagetu, my father, in Gatundu. We had Jomo Kenyatta in Gatundu. I have many of them that I can mention.
But during the war, Kenyatta was in England.
Yes. During that, the British War,
Yes.
the Second World War,
Yeah.
he was in England. He came back here in 1946 after disbandment of the army. Yeah, then he came back in 1946.
So what was going on at the time when he came?
Here in Kenya?
Yeah.
Well, political agitation, political meetings, informing the people why we want the British people to get out of our country, this kind of organization. And these are the kind of organization that young people like we, who had gone to school, were engaged to do around. Like, let me put myself, say, in that organization, I was given a job of a strategist. And I've been moving to Uganda have been moving to Tanzania to recruit our people who
You
were,
recruited people in Uganda and Tanganyika.
yes, who were working there from Kenya, because we wanted them to know what exactly we are doing at home. Therefore, we had to go there and organize them, tell them what we are doing, ask them to join us, ask them to give us any help they may find possible, that kind of thing.
Now, you remember somebody called Henry Moria,
Yes, I do.
the editor of Menyereri.
Henry Moria was the editor of Mumenyereri newspaper. Mumenyereri is a paper that did a great deal of promotion of freedom struggle, because it was a Kikuyu newspaper and everybody could read for himself what was happening. And therefore that paper was read all over the country, where of course the Kikuyu people lived. They lived in Central Province. Many of them lived in Rift Valley, because they went there to work for the European farms. Therefore, that paper did a great deal until the day it was proscribed. And Henry Moria moved. He went to England.
Now, when Kenyatta returned in 1946, what did he tell people or tell you?
What?
What did he tell you people
When?
when he returned in 1946?
No, he said he has been fighting in England, and he has information, and many people have been helping Kenya to advance what he went there to do, because he was sent by the KCA to agitate about our freedom, because all the memorandum were not answered. Therefore, he went there for that purpose. We presume that when he was in England, he was still continuing talking about liberating Kenya.
You knew or you know of, I don't know whether you knew as a person, Louis Leakey.
Yes,
What kind of man was he?
Wakarwege.
Wakarwege, connections and all those.
Wakarwege was a colonialist. He was lucky because he had learned how to speak Kikuyu, and he learned how to stay with the Kikuyu. But he was a colonialist like any other, like Governor Mitchell, like Governor Bering. He was just like that. And that is why he played a great, he did a lot of things to undermine our liberation movement. A lot. He was the person who was put forward to speak to the people. He was the person who was in charge of telling the colonialists where, who you can talk to. They were the people who were saying, these are the people who have been agitating about freedom for a longer time, like the old people that I am mentioning to you.
Yes.
Therefore, Leakey was a colonialist. Yeah.
You knew somebody called Mushohi Gekonyo.
Yes, I did.
How?
I know Mushohi Gekonyo, and I know him well. Mushohi Gekonyo was made to be a receiver of the celebration that was to take place for Nairobi to be called City of Nairobi. Therefore, Muchohi was corroborating with them. We freedom fighters, we were refusing that. We did not.
So who made the decision to shoot at him? Or was it a collective
That
decision?
I do not know. I did not shoot him. I was not where he was shot. Therefore, that one I cannot.
That one you don't know.
That I cannot possibly answer.
Okay. There is,
But that is how Muchohi Wagekonyo was.
Okay.
When that incident took place
Yes.
during the inauguration of the city of Nairobi, then Muchohi came back to the people. He had a shop at Majengo, a big shop. He had a bar at Kaka in Nairobi, somewhere there. The struggle for freedom of Kenya did not start in 1952. It did not start in 1945 either. It started long before. You can remember, or you have perhaps read about 1922.
Yes.
Yeah?
The Dukumata.
Yeah, the Harithu Kumata. You can also remember about Mekatilili Wamenza.
Yes.
That was in
The
1905.
Yes.
Eh? Who slapped a British colonial DC at a mahali called Chakama in Magarin, in Magarin constituency, where she slapped that man.
Yes.
We presume that slapping of a European was the beginning of physical war.
When did you people start organizing to take the oath?
Yeah, that is good. That was around 1946 when Kenyatta came back. When he came back and he started organizing meetings, many people were enlightened about this. And then when it came, what can we do, because our memorandum have not been answered at all, then they asked, what other things can we do? That is where I told you, the young people like I am a young people at that time, we decided to ask the old people. And those old people were James Buta, Magwondu, Wambogo of Muranga, Wagacha, Kahengeri Wagetu, Kenyatta wa Mwigai. We told them, stop writing any more memorandum to colonial office. Let us go to war. Now, to go to the war, you have to mind those people who are going to war. Taking oath is not a strange thing. Taking oath is not a new thing. Oaths are taken even in courts of law. Oaths are taken even in army for person to keep faith and to be strong, to continue. About meeting place, our struggle did not have a central position. It could not be. But we had a central position in Kiambu, a central position in Muranga, a central position in Nyeri. Only delegates would come to inform the others what we have decided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know Kimathi as a person?
Yes, I did.
In what context?
When we formed the cow and we had an office in Kiburi House, and I want to tell you, Kiburi House does not mean what Kiswahili word Kiburi House. Kiburi House is a house which was named after a person called Kiburi, who was the chairman of the Kenya Backers, Kenya Fuel and Backed organization. They were selling magoko and chako. And therefore they bought that house, and it was given the name of their chairman.
Oh, okay.
Kiburi Wadhumbe.
Kiburi Wadhumbe. Oh, so he's the one.
Then they gave us office in there, cow office. All the organization concerning struggle were in Kiburi House. Even the office of Jomo Kenyatta was in Kiburi House. Therefore, everything was coming from there. Kimathi Wachuri was in the army of the British Army, 39-45. When the army was disbanded, European soldiers, many of them were sent to Kenya, and they were given tracts of land in Rift Valley, in Kiambu, in Murang'a, in Nyeri, in all over the place, in Kenya as a whole. Sometimes we would find a captain in the British Army, a European, who is having 40, 50, 100,000 acres in Rift Valley. Kimathi and his friends who were put to that war were only discharged to go home. What they bring at home is the army boots, without any other compensation. And therefore, when they came back, they found us organizing the liberation struggle. And immediately they joined us, because they were bitter too of the work they have done, and they were not given anything. They were just sent home, just like that. Therefore, Kimathi met me in Kiburi House.
So you met at Kiburi House?
Everything that we were doing, we were doing together with Madenge wa Miruge. Stanley Madenge. Because also Stanley was in the army, the British Army. Madenge wa Miruge, it's me, Gitu Kahengeri. I told you I had a job given to me by that. Madenge, it's me who took Madenge from Kiburi House to that Darasha had a museum, Darasha. It is me who escorted him there to go to the forest. When KANU was formed, it was formed in Kiambu, and I was a delegate, because I told you there before that I was the Secretary General, Kiambu Freedom Party. That meeting was for delegates from all district political parties. Nyeri, Kalenjin, with Chiaya and all that. All these people converged at Kiambu. Now what happened? We elected James Gichuru to be the leader. Then we elected Lorna Gala to be the treasurer. Then we elected Tom Boyer to be the Secretary General. I am mentioning these chief officers. Then from there, we said we have formed KANU, is a national party. You will propagate it in the coast, Nyanza, Rift Valley, everywhere. Then there were those people, even before we come to that meeting, who were supporting colonial administration without telling us that they support colonial administration. Then, from there, they got together. Then they say that KANU of Mboya, Gichuru, and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, we are not there. We will form our own party. And that is when Moi was elected to be chairman. Ngala was, I think Moi was, yes, I think Moi was chairman.
Became chairman.
Ngala president, and other people like Moriro and all these people. They formed their party. That party consisted of coast people, Rift Valley people. These were the people who were in Kadu.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that the colonial government has divided this country into regions. One of the regions is Rift Valley. You can see Rift Valley from Lodwar to Mombasa. They were making that because if you want to come from Ethiopia and you want to coast, you can go through Rift Valley and get to the coast. They wanted to isolate Central Province to be in the middle here without a port. When they formed that, and their party was registered, they were being helped by the colonial white settlers. They were very rich. They had a lot of cows. And then every one of their meetings, they had to slaughter about 7, 10 bulls to be eaten by those who were following them. Then, Kadu party became into being. Therefore, we had to go into fighting each other until the colonial conference, Lancaster Conference, was called. And when the British called that, they said Kadu must be included because it's a national political party. And therefore, delegates who went there were from Kanu and Kanu. We organized our people of Kenya in a great deal to join KANU. Many people knew that Kenyatta is supporting KANU even in his detention in Marera. one day he was asked in Marera, which is your political party? And he said, KANU is my party and of my people. When he said that, every person who supported the struggle for freedom followed that KANU is the party. And that is why, because when we were organizing between from detention to the election day, there is no place that we did not go. I told you, we went all over the country telling the people about we are about to defeat the colonial government. And people of Kenya, even those who did not join KANU, even those who did not join the liberation movement, none, we do not know anybody here in Kenya who was being treated well by the colonial government. Even the chief, even the DO, even those who they employed, they were just like nothing before them. Therefore, when they heard there is a government now going to remove the colonial setup, they flocked. And that is why KANU won the election.
Okay. Now, you know some that of the party or the Kiama Mwingi. You know about it?
Yes, I do.
How did it operate, or what was it? And how did it disappear?
No, what happened, towards the end of the emergency, there were many people who were in their minds with the thinking of freedom of Kenya. And therefore, when they started seeing that things are not being done towards their benefits, then they formed. There are not only Kiama Mwingi, there are many. There were Kiama Mwingi, Rovia, many of them. Those who were fighting the colonialism, they were finding ways of moving. They also found their land consolidated. It was consolidated. Those who were cooperators were given their land, this detainees' land. Therefore, they were looking at a way of reviving that need for being justice. You see, that was it. But as KANU was the leading party, and all people believed in what KANU was saying, plus Kenyatta influence, these parties went off when the elections came, and they stopped doing everything.
Now, the General Baimunge, and Mwayama, and Kenyatta, what happened?
You know, all the people who went to war with the British were patriotic people. And they can see something not going the way they think. Mwaliama came from the forest, and he agreed what was happening. Baimunge refused. He said, we were fighting for freedom and the land. And they were not satisfied the way the land was being taken by the corroborators. That is how Baimunge went back to the forest.
How much impact did Congo have on Kenya? The violence in Congo? as far as you could tell?
No, what we know is that Patrick Murumba was fighting a battle like our own. And because he was fighting the colonial government, we were supporting him. Even in this country, many people had already formed songs singing, praising Patrice Lumumba.
Okay, there was a Lumumba Institute.
Yes.
What can you tell us about it?
That Lumumba Institute was named after that Patrice Lumumba, because in the way of thinking and how we imagined he was doing the way we removed the European in Kenya.
But what happened to the institute for it to be closed?
No, you know, there was Cold War between the West and the East. When we formed the government here in Kenya, some people tended to go to the West, others to the East. That was formed by the group that recommended that we go socialism. You see? Now, because those people who were in the government, and that is where I want you to note very carefully. Our government was not received by freedom fighters. Government of Kenya was received by collaborators. Therefore, in the government, they had very enormous strength, materially, even intelligence. They were the people who were in the government in that manner. Therefore, anything from the East, they had to crush.
The session of paper number 10, what can you say about it?
It was a socialism paper. When we received this government, almost everybody who was in the struggle favored socialism. And that is why that paper was produced. But collaborators, because they were the strength of the government inside, they were working to undermine everything brought about by the freedom fighters. And that is how session of paper number 10 died without implementation.
Now, you became an MP.
Yes.
Of Viga.
Yes.
What was your experience as an MP? And as a Mau fighter? MP?
Let me repeat. Our government was received by collaborators. These people had enormous power in the corridors of power. They did not want at any time people who were in the freedom struggle to come up at any cost. They agreed Kenyatta to take over the leadership because they knew if they said no for Kenyatta, maybe we would have gone to the forest to fight that government of the Watuweusi. And therefore they thought if they praise Kenyatta, if they accept it and destroy the followers, they will succeed. And they did. That is what exactly they did. That is why they succeeded in taking over administration of the government.
How long did you stay in Parliament?
Hmm?
How long were you an MP?
2 terms.
2 times.
The first time I went to Parliament in 1969, and then I was removed by Peter Muigai Kenyatta in 1974. Then I removed him in 1979. So I was there for 2 terms.
What would you say was your main contribution as a legislator? In Juja?
Yeah. If you go to the Hansard, I have contributed for various things. My contribution mainly was how the freedom pipe, people who brought freedom, can benefit from what they brought. My other point is that how the people who fought for this Uhuru can have settlement, because that was one of the things for what they want to fight the British. Therefore, I was speaking in the Bunge about it, and I did put that into practice because I organized the people to buy farms. I organized the people to buy a Gachororo farm. I organized people to buy Nyakenywa farm. I organized the people to buy Magogone farm. I organized the people to buy Morera farm. And the people are settled there. I also organized to build schools in the former colonial settlers area, like the one we are now. We are sitting in a colonial era white settlers farms. I organized to have schools in this. We have schools in Guriba, we have schools in Gatwanyaga, we have schools in Ruiru. These schools were not there because European settlers would not have wanted our children to be educated. When we recovered our land, these lands did not directly go to the people who fought for it. It went to those people who did not even want this country to be independent. Then, those generals who were in the forest, or the people who were in detention camp, or the leaders who were in Manda Island and all that, they wanted to benefit from their sweat and blood. They wanted to benefit. They did not benefit. It went to other people. If you take research yourself, in Kiambu, you find one person who is having 6 farms. And then if you follow to find out which group he belongs to, you will find he's a collaborator. If you go to Nyeri, a person having 7 farms, if you deeply go to his origins, you find he's a collaborator.
Now, as we wind up, congratulations for the case, the one you won in London.
Oh yes.
Now, how did you decide, or what made you go say, let's go and sue the government?
Yeah.
How did you do it?
I'll tell you. In August 1950, a subsidiary law was passed by a colonial government. This subsidiary law was called 913. That is the law that proscribed Mau Mau movement. And that is the law that took us to detention camp. That is the law made us be killed. That's the law made us be put into jails. That law was not revoked at independence. It continued. It even was confirmed somewhere during independent Kenya. It was confirmed to continue.
But it is a good law.
It is a good law. You understand? Then it came the Constitutional Conference. I was elected by the people of Kiambu as a delegate. In that conference, I had chosen 2 motions to take to that conference. Number 1 motion is to recognize those who fought for freedom in the Constitution. If you read our Constitution today, in the preamble, we are recognized. Those who heroically brought freedom and justice to Kenya. Number 2 is to revoke 913 because it is proscribed us. We do not have meetings to celebrate what we won because we will be caught by the headman, taken to the court and convicted because there is a law. Okay? At that conference, I raised that point with Chris Morongaru, who was Minister for Security, and I raised that point with Keraito Murungi, who was a constitutional minister. They did not know there is a law like that one. And therefore they carried that willingly to the power. And that law was revoked in 2003.
Kibaki did it.
When it was removed, we continued to seek registration for a Mau Mau War Veterans Association. That registration was given on 11th November 2003. And interestingly, the certificate was brought to freedom fighters at the Uhuru Garden in Langata by the Vice President, Mahmoud Awori. He's the person who handed us that registration there. He handed it over to our chairman, who was a Nyerian, a person from Nyeri called Dungu Wagichero. Out of that constitution, I was elected the General Secretary to Mau Mau War Veterans Association. I made several trips to government offices to request them, because we were tortured by the British government that went, because we were ill-treated by that government. We want to sue them for compensation. That government, full of collaborators, told me, we will support you morally. You know better than I do what that means, that I will support you morally. Then I said, how? A government we brought by tears, sweat and blood can support us on this kind of case morally. Then nobody in the government wanted to talk about that case. Fortunately, I went, I met Mutonga. Mutonga was then the executive director of Kenya Human Rights Commission. I went with this registration of Mau Mau War Veterans Association, and I explained to Mutonga what I am telling you now. Then he said, is that the case? Okay. As a human rights organization, we will take your case, we will support you from the beginning to the end. When he told me that, I went in the countryside. I organized about 64 public meetings to tell the people our idea of putting a case against the British government. Some people, even those who were with me in the detention, refused to come because we were doubtful. Some were asking, how can Gitu Kahengeri, a simple person, take a course to a law court of England, the courts of the Queen of England? His application cannot even reach the registry. But I said this, Professor, I was here when the colonial administration was here. They were so powerful, materially, educationally, they were so powerful. But they are not here now. No one is here. We made them go. If we did that when they had what they called Lincoln bombers, bombing planes, which bombed all over the country. If you go to Rwadia, you'll find some holes as big as this compound here we are sitting. That was made by bombers dropped to kill our people. If they are not here now, how come you tell me that I cannot lodge a case and that case is only papers I take to the registry. They refuse to accept it, or they accept it. I come back. Many people refuse to come to my organization because of that fear. But I said, I must continue. Since we have got that, those who will come with me, we will take the case. I took about 22 people in the first place to launch that case in the court in England. That case was objected to by the British lawyers. They said colonial government left Kenya and there is government in Kenya. If you want compensation, you will have to ask the government in Kenya today. We said no. Government in Kenya did not torture anyone. Government in Kenya did not mistreat anyone. They did not ill-treat us. You did ill-treat us and you tortured us. Luckily, the judge who was listening said the Mau Mau case cannot be thrown out because you did beat them and you are the answerable people. That is your judge. That said so. Then we came back. In 2012, we went back to the court. Another preliminary objection was there, that there is a law in England that a civil case like that one can only be taken into court within 3 to 6 years. 3 to 6 years. Therefore, what kind of case here, after 50 years, you are bringing into a court with that law? Then we said no. In 1950, you enacted a law in Kenya called 913, Subsidiary Registration 913. You did not revoke it when you were leaving Kenya. It stayed in the statute up to 2003. That is when it was revoked. And that is the same we sought registration of our society, Mau Mau War Veterans Association. If you count 63 and 69 when you are bringing the case, we are within the 3 to 6 years. Therefore, you cannot deny our justice because of limitation. The judge said, Mau Mau case cannot be thrown out because of limitation. We were happy. Then we came back to wait for another date. Then the British lawyers took it back for appeal to say, which judge is this who does not know the laws of England? That is when we said, okay, now these people are playing delaying tactics. They can see Gitu Kahengeri is an old man. If he is here for another 4 years, he will not be able to attend the court, or perhaps he will die, or perhaps he will not be able to give evidence, something like that. So let us go back to our government to request them verbally tell the British Prime Minister to let our case be decided out of court. we came back. We went to the Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. We told him that. He took that matter to Kibaki. They agreed that the Prime Minister writes a letter to Cameroon to ask him to let the case continue out of court. He wrote 2 letters. One in May, another one in November, asking him, these are old people, that you better decide that this case be heard out of court. You agree for what you can pay them, and then we close that case. Cameroon agreed and told his lawyers to set up a commission to listen to our grievances. They set a commission together with our lawyers, which came to Kenya, and I took them to every place we had members of those who were in our case. They interviewed them, and they were deciding in this manner. If a person gives evidence that can sustain that case in a court of law, that person has passed. Those who give information that cannot possibly sustain the case in court of law, they fail. Those who passed were 5,228. Where do they come from? Murang'a, Nyeri, Meru, Kirinyaga, Kiambu, Machakos, Mombasa, Nyanza, Rift Valley, Kisii, all over the place, because we are nationalists and we want our case to be a national case. Then those who passed, I said it's 5,228, each person was asked, because you are to be paid a compensation, can you give me your card, ID? Can you give me your bank account? Then they gave, all of them, 5,228, gave their IDs and their bank accounts. The money that were being paid, which was 340,000 for each victim, was being wired from England to the victim's bank account. Nothing came to the organization. When we were asked, you want this money to go through where? We said, the decision the British government decided that this money will go to the victim himself, it is great, because we have been fighting for them all the way. Therefore, that money went to victims in the villages. And that is how our case ended.
Very positive note.